Assalamualaikum and good evening. Sarawak Governor Tun Pin Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar and his wife Toh Puan Datuk Patinggi Fauziah Muhammad Sanusi attended the Brunei Darussalam investiture ceremony held at Balai Singgasana Indra Buana, Istana Nurul Iman on Wednesday. Their attendance at the ceremony reflected the close friendship and continued commitment of Sarawak and Brunei Darussalam to strengthening diplomatic, cultural and strategic cooperation that has long existed between the two sides. The royal ceremony was held in conjunction with the 80th birthday celebration of His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan Al-Bolkiah Muizzaddin Wad Daulah, the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam. Tun Pin Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi and Toh Puan Datuk Patinggi Fauziah were also granted an audience with His Majesty, the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam and Her Majesty Raja Isteri Pangeran Anak Hajah Saleha and conveyed their congratulations on the occasions of His Majesty's birthday celebrations. Their attendance at the ceremony symbolized the close ties that continue to be strengthened between Sarawak and Brunei Darussalam while also reinforcing bonds of kinship and opening avenues for closer cooperation for mutual benefit in the future. The Forest Department Sarawak FDS inked 5 Memorandums of Understanding MOU and Memorandums of Agreement MOA with strategic partners to strengthen cooperation in forest management, research, biodiversity conservation and sustainable developments of the forestry sector. The document signing ceremony was witnessed by Sarawak Premier Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Abdul Rahman Zohari Tun Dato' Abang Openg in conjunction with the welcoming dinner of the 21st Malaysian Forestry Conference 2026 on Monday. The first MOU was signed between FDS and the Sabah Forestry Department to strengthen cooperation in forest fire management. The document was signed by Chief Forest Conservator of Sabah, Datuk Zulkifli Suara. The second MOU involves FDS and University Malaysia Sarawak UNIMAS to renew research collaboration on hardwood species to improve Malaysian timber design standards. UNIMAS was represented by its Vice-Chancellor Professor Dr. Ahmad Hatta Rashid. Through the third MOU, FDS established a collaboration with Crown Research Sendirian Berhad in tissue culture research of forest tree species, as well as the development of industrial forest plantations. The company was represented by its acting Chief Executive Officer Dr. Bala Jamel. Meanwhile, the fourth MOU was signed with Tulen International Sendirian Berhad for the development of forest nurseries for the sustainable propagations of high-quality local plant material. The company was represented by its Director and Head of Forestry Zakaria Hamzah and Director Farid Wahid. At the same time, FDS also signed an MOA with Sarawak Energy Berhad through its subsidiary SEB Power Sendirian Berhad to implement the flora component under the Wildlife Monitoring and Rescue WIMO program for the Baleh Hydroelectric Project. SEB Power Sendirian Berhad represented by its Chief Executive Officer Insinyur Bunyak Lunyong. The Sarawak Space Challenge 2026 empowers talent development, producing a globally competitive generation that continues to strengthen the talent development agenda in the fields of science, technology, engineering and mathematics by targeting the participations of 6,500 participants this year in preparation to produce a young generation that is globally competitive. Minister for Education, Innovation and Talent Development MEITD Datuk Sri Roland Sagah Wee-In said the initiative spearheaded by his ministry is one of the state government's strategic efforts to develop human capital in line with the aspirations of making Sarawak a high-income state.
Education is the key to transforming Sarawak into a high-income nation. That's why we have free tertiary education in Sarawak and many other initiatives to develop our talent. Through programs such as Sarawak Space Challenge, we ensure our youth are well prepared to compete globally.
He said this while speaking at the Sarawak Space Challenge 2026 launch ceremony at Swinburne University of Technology Sarawak in Kuching on Wednesday. The Sarawak Space Challenge Hackathon 2026 is scheduled to take place on November 14 to 15 in 4 locations, namely Kuching, Sibu, Miri and for the first time in Bintulu. The first attempt to plant perennial varieties of rice in Sarawak in Kuala, Baram showed very encouraging progress as its inaugural harvest is scheduled to be on 6 August. Minister for Food Industry, Commodity and Regional Development (MFICOD), Datuk Sri Dr. Stephen Rundi Utom, said that 6 trial plots have been developed in the area with the performance of the crops so far meeting expectations. According to him, the Sarawak Premier is expected to attend the inaugural paddy harvest. He explained that the crops surveyed today only take about 2.5 months to reach maturity and are ready to be harvested. He said this to the media after visiting a trial plot of perennial variety paddy owned by Borneo Land Paddy Sdn Bhd in Kuala Baram here on Tuesday. Datuk Sri Dr. Stephen also informed that the project is a research collaboration between the Sarawak government and Yunnan University, China, which involves 30 varieties of perennial rice to identify 1 or 2 varieties that are most suitable to be planted in the state. He said, depending on the success of the experiments, seed production will be carried out in Sarawak according to biosecurity protocols before being extended to farmers, including through the implementation of contract farming. The results of research and discussions at conservation conferences need to be translated into policies and actions that can have a real impact on the biodiversity conservation efforts and the country's sustainable development. Sarawak Deputy Minister for Urban Planning, Land Administration and Environment, Datuk Len Talif Saleh, said the success of a conference should not be judged based on the number of academic presentations or discussions held, but rather through the implementation of policies, strengthening strategic collaborations and measurable results. According to him, scientific discoveries cannot remain as academic publications or conference proceedings, but rather need to be utilized in the formulation of public policies, conservation planning, environmental governance, and sustainable development for the benefit of society and nature.
So you can talk whatever you want, how long you want, but if it's not translated into policy and passed through certain, whether it's MK cabinet or up to the Dewan Undangan Negeri or Parliament, still remain as academic matter. So you have to convince the policy maker that your idea is doable, pragmatic, and sustainable.
He said this when speaking at the closing ceremony of the Malaysia Conservation Conference MCC 2.0 at a hotel here on Wednesday. At the same time, he expressed hope that the conference could produce scientific resolutions and comprehensive policy proposals to be used as an ongoing action plan instead of merely a conference document. In this regard, he suggested that a monitoring mechanism be established to assess the implementation of each resolution so that achievements could be measured, reported and improved at the future conferences. Preparations ahead of the Sarawak Media Conference SMeC 2026 have entered the final phase as the full rehearsal held at the Pullman Hotel Kuching on Tuesday ran smoothly. The rehearsal was conducted to coordinate the overall flow of the conference encompassing technical aspects, protocol, stage management, as well as the program content to ensure smooth event execution this 16 July. Sarawak Deputy Minister in the Premier's Department Corporate Affairs, Information and UKAS, Dato' Abdullah Saidul, also inspected the rehearsal to ensure all preparations are at the highest level and according to plan. SMeC 2026 is expected to gather media practitioners, government agencies representatives, communication industry players and various stakeholders to discuss current issues, challenges and the directions of the media industry in the digital era. The opening of SMeC 2026 will be officiated by Sarawak Premier this 16 July, while the Sarawak State Level National Journalist Day, Hawana 2026 dinner is expected to be attended by Deputy Prime Minister Dato' Amar Fadilah Yusof. The staging of SMeC 2026 and the Hawana celebrations in Sarawak reflect the government's continuous commitment to strengthening a professional, integrated and resilient media ecosystem in line with the changing landscape of digital communication and current technological developments. And that's the English edition with me, Saiful Bahri Muhammad. More news can be found in our official portal ukas.sarawak.gov.my and social media platforms including Facebook and YouTube. We round up tonight's UKAS Bulletin with scenes from the full rehearsal of the SMeC 2026 at the Pullman Hotel Kuching on Tuesday. #Saluran Informasi Rakyat. Have a good night.